So thank you everyone for joining us today and our webinar on the 2026 Pet Parent Research Report. So some really fabulous insights that we're going to be showing you today. So just to introduce ourselves as well before we get started, my name's Victoria Deemer-Smith. I was a veterinary nurse in clinic for over 15 years before joining Vetstoria 7 years ago, where I now lead implementation teams. I have 4 dogs, 1 cat, a tortoise, some fish. My house is a little bit chaotic, as it should be, but I absolutely, of course, still love animals very, very much. And Mary, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Mary Schwartz. I'm basically the RVN of the States is the CVT. So that's my credentials. I've got about 13 years in clinical practice before I came over to Pet Desk. And Pet Desk is Vetstoria is kind of US wing, US and Canada wing. I since I've been at Pet Desk, I've been contributing a lot to different areas of the business, but I finally landed into the community engagement role, which I really enjoy because it means I get to spend time with folks like you and Vicky today, chatting a little bit about our pet parent report, which I'm very excited to do. So, Vetstoria commissioned Seven Insights, the company Seven Insights, to carry out a survey of 2,000 pet parents in the UK and Australia to cover the importance of technology as part of the client experience. So, what we did was we explored interactions around communication and interactions with veterinary clinics from digital services to websites. And we also asked about overall levels of satisfaction with practices and pet parents' likelihood to change vets.
Yeah, so we conducted this survey in November 2025, and as Mary mentioned, it was to really understand pet parents' expectations, especially around technology in veterinary care. And the 3 focus areas we're looking at is digital communication and appointment booking, convenience and frictionless interactions, followed by trust and client loyalty.
So I'd love to know from our attendees, how confident are you that your practice is currently meeting expectations for your pet parents this year? All right, just gonna wait another moment. All right. So it looks like we're kind of split between very confident, not very confident. It seems like folks are kind of in the middle there. Um, and that's pretty typical. I think that in today's day and age, with all of the different technology, with all the different ways we have to communicate with pet parents, it can be hard to know if you're really hitting the mark. And that's where we really wanted to start with this survey, right? How can we help make sure that you're hitting the mark? And we know that pet ownership is an all-time high, not only in the US, because we did this report in the US as well, but in the UK and Australia, pet parents or pet ownership is climbing rapidly. However, veterinary visits have decreased year over year. And that's the same from in 2024, it's decreased in 2025, and we're already seeing that it is a little bit decreased in 2026 as well. The biggest cohort of pet parents, the largest group of pet parents, is millennials and Gen Z. So, Vicky, from a technology and practice perspective, because you talk to a ton of practices about the
Yeah,
technology they're using, how to best utilize it. How are
yeah.
you seeing clinics adapt to this kind of change in demographics and the economy overall?
We're really seeing it. So within implementation, I think we can all recognize that technology's had a really major impact on modern veterinary practice. And
Mhm.
we've seen and spoken to a lot of clinics that have started to adapt by adopting these digital tools and services that can just make communication and convenience for the pet owner optimal. So we've seen an increase in things like online appointment booking, automated reminders, the ability for pet owners to be able to reschedule or cancel their appointment online because it's highly convenient and they can access their pet's care seamlessly without having to call the practice. And equally, we're seeing veterinary clinics update their website. So they're expanding, they're making sure that their services are up to date, their emergency details, pricing, because this is not just helping the clinic operate more efficiently, but it's also helping pet owners look after and engage with their pet's health more.
Absolutely. And I think those are just things that we realize that are needed across the board because that's how
Mm-hmm.
we interact with the world, right? And so we need to think about
Yeah,
how the world wants to interact with our practice.
absolutely. And when we take a look at this slide and what the report shows us here, 89% of our pet parents find digital communication such as reminders, appointments, vaccinations essential. The next statistic shows you that 82% can easily access or share their pet's health records, and 84% want the ability to book an appointment at any time on any device or platform. So I would be asking veterinary clinics whether you are offering these capabilities. Do you meet those needs that we can see here? Because as you mentioned, Mary, modern consumers are expecting seamless digital first interactions, and that includes their veterinary care as well.
Absolutely. It's especially since the COVID pandemic kind of impacted the whole world, that demand for digital interactions became higher. People
Mhm.
understood how much more convenient it could be, how much easier it could be. And now it's table stakes, right? And that's what a strong online presence gives you. It gets you the first step of being able to have digital interactions, right? So people are searching for you online, they're trying to find you, they're looking for their next veterinarian, and 29% have decided against a clinic because of its website. So you can't even get them in the door to start providing them those premier digital interactions without having a website that attracts them. So again, this is just absolute table stakes. And you can see here that while word of mouth is still important, right?
Mhm.
Recommendations are still a strong reason that folks select clinics. If you combine most of the rest of these, right? If you combine all the digital pieces, the social media, search engines, and online reviews, that's a large chunk that you cannot ignore. And in the US, at least, there's not a lot of drive-by advertisements anymore. There's still billboards here and there, but it's not the primary way to attract people. How about in the
Mhm.
UK, Vicky? Is there a lot of drive-by traffic in front of clinics that gets people through the door?
Sometimes, but I think to be honest with you, they're always going to. I see more activity on social media and people asking for recommendations or looking at reviews, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the same here as well.
And I think when you mentioned, Mary, about recommendations, online reviews, really thinking about what our pet parents expect to see, it needs to be frictionless and convenient. And this slide here kind of just gives us a bit of an indication as to how satisfied our pet parents are. And you can see that it's grouped by age here. And what was surprising when I looked at this data was very satisfied, 18 to 34. 35 to 54. So again, we're looking at those millennials and Gen Z, as you mentioned. They're under 50% satisfied, with the 55 plus being just over. And then mainly satisfied, again, a little bit shocking to see that not one of those sort of age groups was happy or over 50% most of the time. So this is an important reminder, I think, that and to a question to ask ourselves, are we meeting our pet parents where they are? Are we meeting those expectations when we think about the ability to book online or an optimal website where they can see online reviews and make decisions quickly?
I think you really hit the nail on the head there. And I say this all the time. So this is like probably the thing that I beat into the ground most, which is exactly what you said, Vicky, meeting pet parents where they are. It's really easy to
Mhm.
think, well, this is how I interact with the world. Or if I was looking for premier customer service, this is what I would do. And I still hear people say, I want to call and talk to a real human. That's great. You might want that, but the majority of people don't want that. And so you want to make sure you're providing the services that people are looking for. And ultimately, if you're not having to talk to every single person on the phone, it allows you to free up some time to actually spend talking to the people that do want that interaction. So I'd be curious to know how many folks we have that currently send automated appointment or vaccine reminders to their clients. And if you do send it over multiple channels that you see here, pick the one that is most effective for your practice, that you get like the most confirmations or the most appointments booked from. We do have a lot of folks using multiple streams of communication. My preferred for myself is text. Do you have a preferred, Vicky?
I prefer text, but surprisingly, my vets they still send out paper, which I find quite surprising at times, and I don't always see it. So to be honest with you, I tend to keep a little bit more on top of it and know when it's coming round, and then call myself. But I would love a text message.
Oh man. I think about like how much you insider knowledge you have to know how important it is to book that appointment and how
Mm,
impossible that would be for someone who maybe thinks it's not as big of a deal or it can wait or whatever it may be if they had
mm.
to remember and do it
Yes,
with how
yeah,
where would it fall in their list of to-dos, you know?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. It looks like we kind of have a smattering here. It looks like we do have some folks sending out digital reminders, but not on all channels, it seems, for everybody. So that's something to really consider, right? Is again, meet your clients where they are and attack as many channels as you possibly can. And in order to do that, we want to look at our overall customer experience. And so when folks express having issues booking into their vet clinic, the top two, right? Not having available slots and long hold times. So, available slots, there's not a ton you can do about, right? Your availability is your availability. But if you are like me and you have to call to make an appointment and you're on the phone for a long time on hold, you might have to hang up and try to remember to call back. Or maybe that is your breaking point, right? Where you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. You try another clinic that might be able to pick up right away or another clinic that has online booking. And that's where we kind of see the rest of these stats shake out, right? So complicated booking processes, inability or difficulty to contact the clinic, not having the availability to book online. But the really big one that's a standout here to me is unable to book appointments when the clinic is closed. And we know that about 40% of appointments for folks that have an online booking platform come after the practice is closed, which means that's when people are thinking about their pet's health. That's when maybe they get home after a busy day, they lay eyes on their dog, and they're like, oh, that's right, I do need to get that appointment scheduled. And that's when they choose to go ahead and do that. So clients are more likely to find a different veterinarian if they're experiencing friction in the booking process. And this is often also your first impression on new clients as well. So, as we said earlier, frictionless is in demand, right? Clients want things to be as easy and simple as possible to reduce their need to redo steps, to take up more of their time than is necessary. And you can very easily address this by having multiple options available for your practice. All right, this one's an interesting one. How many or what percentage of pet parents do you think are likely to switch clinics this year? As you think about your own practice, what are you thinking? All right, I'll give it one more second. All right. Well, it's looking like people are thinking it's pretty low. They're thinking like 10 to 25, maybe less than 10. Of course, we also don't want to think about our practice losing clients, so that can be a little bit tough. But what's the reality, Vicky?
Yes, we can see the report here. This is going to be fundamental for clinics this year. As you can see, approximately 50% of clients report being fully satisfied with their service. So there's quite a large number that isn't satisfied with their service. And younger pet owners, especially living in urban areas, are twice as likely to change vets within this year. So that's a huge proportion of clients, and 4% still report being either mainly or very dissatisfied with their veterinary clinic. Now, we do consider that costs and relocating can contribute to this number, but we have to bear in mind that digital convenience is a key driver for preventing client turnover.
Absolutely,
And what
especially in
can we
those
do?
urban
Yeah,
areas.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what can we do about it? So improving convenience and overall experience, as Mary's been describing, and this does include digital services such as your online booking, your automated reminders, and a mobile-friendly website. We need to meet those modern expectations to make it easier for our pet owners to access care. But this in turn is going to help you as clinics remain competitive and reduce that turnover within your area as well.
And we know that in order to do that, trust and technology are a winning combination, right? So we know that there are some things up here we can't change. We can't change our location and we can't change our availability, right? So I don't think anybody here who runs a 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 clinic is going to start thinking they might open for 24 hours. But when asked to rank in order of importance when they're choosing a veterinary location, trust still is the number one tool here. There are lots of ways to curate that trust. We're going to talk about some of those in just a moment. But the ideal combination is exceptional pet care, right? So great customer service and building trust with your clients while offering digital solutions at the same time. So pet parents are more likely to rank good technology as a top 3 factor over 24/7 opening hours in their choice as a vet. Both are outweighed by trust, of course, in their pet's doctor and convenient location. But we can offset some of these things we can't change by controlling what we can control. And looking back, the research confirms that veterinarians are generally trusted with low dissatisfaction levels. However, we still see 31% of pet parents considering switching practices, which suggests that while trust is essential, the appeal of a convenient, tech enabled experience is a key driver to their decision. And there's a lot of pieces that can go into that, right? So when we talk about getting one shot at the first impression, right? The website is the banner for that. That's their very first impression of your clinic. More than a third of pet parents regard a poor website as a deal breaker. And that increases to 47% for under 35s. And we know more and more we're getting into the point where we're in an almost completely online generation. Gen Zers have grown up with phones in their hands, right? I think some folks, like myself, still remember a time before cell phones, but that is fading. That's becoming not the norm any longer. And so when we think about someone who's grown up with access to the internet in their pocket 24/7, how do they interact with the world? And it's primarily online. Almost a third of pet parents have decided against a particular clinic purely because of the website. And this can be different things, right? This can be, is the website easy to utilize? Is there an easy way for me to find and book an appointment from the website? Do I resonate with the clinic's mission, vision, and values? Do I even know what those are? Can I use the website on my phone? Hugely important questions to be asking about your own website. And the most likely reason for leaving and avoiding a veterinary website is either it's hard to find, i.e., it's not showing up in the top on the first page of Google, or it has outdated information. The last thing you want is your Google My Business page to say one thing and your website to say another. It's critical that you keep it updated with exactly what is going on with your practice. And while more than a third of pet parents are willing to not go to your website or not really willing to not go to your clinic as a result of your website, we want to really emphasize here that this is an easy fix, right? It is easy for you to take a hard look at your website and evaluate change. Some key areas you would want to focus on with your website are going to be your services page, your About Us page, whether or not you have calls to action across the whole website so that anywhere a client is, they can find your phone number, where you are located, how they can book with you. And younger generations are now making purchasing decisions based on trust in the mission or the whether or not the service they're choosing is giving back good to the world, right? There's a real focus on connecting with any sort of business, and understanding what they're doing that's outside of themselves. And so being able to express that on your website, particularly on your About You page, but having that home page really have a strong statement of your mission, vision, and values, and showing pet parents a little bit of the inside of your clinic can really help them bond with you. You're only going to have a few minutes to capture their attention. And so you really want to make sure that those few minutes you have are well spent and that you're able to utilize that time to get them to take an action, like book with your practice, call you, make a decision that they would like to explore you guys as a client.
Why reviews matter. And for some of you that may have attended Mary and I's previous webinar, we went into this in quite a bit of detail, but reviews are incredibly important. And looking at the statistic here, online reviews, 31% are the second likeliest reason for the selection of a particular vet after recommendation of someone they know. And 47% of our clients in the 18 to 34 bracket always check reviews before making a decision. So one key question to ask yourself is, do you have up-to-date reviews, not just on your website, but on your Google business profile, social media, but are you also engaging with them as well? Because as Mary mentioned, perception is reality. You've got a few moments to really make that impression, and you want to have those up-to-date information so you can install trust in those clients that are seeking a new vet. So something to really think about there.
100%. So, what are the things that you can do to close that gap today, right now? So, one, of course, offer 24/7 online booking. Make sure it's mobile friendly, make sure it's easy for pet parents to use. Give them a barrier free way to get an appointment with your practice.
Absolutely, and higher client retention and loyalty, as we've been discussing. So you will save money by investing your focus on maintaining the relationships you have with your current clients. And if you want to boost loyalty, as Mary was mentioning, it does require ongoing efforts, engagement initiatives such as rewarding your clients, personal outreach, and showing appreciation. But retention being a real focus and making sure that you do make efforts there, because statistics show that for every existing customer, they will spend 31% more per transaction, and they are 50% more likely to follow your veterinary recommendations and try new services.
Oh, sorry about that. You also really need to work on building stronger client relationships through trust and seamless experience. And trust can be built by building an online presence that reflects the experience that a client's going to have when they walk into your practice. And this is done through your website, which I know we've talked a lot about, but you also want to focus on social media, especially with younger consumers. If any of you out there have kids, or if any of you guys are, under the age of 30, Instagram is the way to go, right? People are very much on Instagram, and this is a great place to show your clinic's personality. Pictures of your nurses cuddling up to pets, success stories. The real look at what happens in your practice is how you're going to attract clients to you. That's what they're looking for, to connect with you.
Absolutely, and increasing efficiency with less phone time and admin work. And again, something very that I'm very passionate about. We've seen how we've helped clients save time so they can focus on improving those touch points with the customers. So adopting online booking, automated reminders, having information that is available on your website so you can really streamline your daily workflows, and it allows you to focus more on the patients that are in front of you and the customers. We've all been there. I was only there a week ago with my cat Henry at the vet's, and the phone was ringing off the hook, and I really felt sorry for the receptionist who had a new client in front of her, patiently waiting. We want you to be able to improve those experiences, save a bit of time, be less flustered, whilst also, of course, delighting your customers in front of you.
Absolutely. It's so valuable to be able to emphasize those human interactions in this world
Yeah.
where, a lot, you really want to be able to focus on people when they're in front of you and provide that exceptional customer experience.
Absolutely. And another area that I'm passionate about is SEO and how you can attract more clients and build trust with them online. So, as Mary was mentioning before, having a great website, fantastic, but are you visible to Google? Are you visible to these potential pet parents? And so, some things to consider is the SEO essentials. So, listing all of your services, not just within a dedicated services page, but are you mentioning them within blog posts and within your frequently asked questions? Are you including your clinic name? Are you proud of your clinic? Are you mentioning it in various places? Also, your local cities, landmarks. Again, this is going to help you be discoverable. Specific keywords throughout your website. Pet parents are looking for puppy, kitten, vaccine, flea, worm. Let's make sure they're used multiple times. And as mentioned, blog posts, yes, it can take a bit of time, but we ideally like up-to-date blog posts every 4 to 6 months and that frequently asked question page for your pet owners. Google, something to mention here is whether you have a Google business profile. As Mary touched on a little bit earlier, this should mirror the website. The services should be up to date, the opening hours, the contact details. But importantly, Google loves reviews. If you have them and they're recent and you're engaging with them, that is also going to boost your rankings. And last but not least, safety and security. A lot of search engines like Google will take into account whether you have an SSL certificate, and that will boost your ranking if you do. So something to bear in mind there when you're looking at optimizing your website.
When you're looking at the actual content on your website, and Vicky mentioned a really important one, which is blogs, but there's a lot of other pages that you want to build in, right? And so you
Mhm.
want to showcase your staff. And this does not just mean your doctors. Before your clients ever lay their eyes on a doctor, they're going to talk to one of your CSRs and one of your nurses. It's important for them to already have seen those people, to know who they're going to be talking to. Those are the folks that are really going to set the tone and shape the beginning of the visit. And guess what? When the doctor leaves the room, it's in reverse order, right? Your nurse is going to come back in and discuss discharges, and then either they're going to check your client out or they're going to go back up to the CSR. So make sure that your doctors are not the only people on your website. They're very important, but they're not the only people that work in your practice. Make sure you're highlighting what makes you unique. Some clinics are super passionate about, let's say, ultrasound. They have doctors that are really into it. They're very, very good at it. They can be quick. They can provide that level of diagnostic. So find what separates you or sets you apart from other practices in your area and go with that. I recently talked to a clinic that does a lot of work with wildlife. And while that doesn't impact their clients themselves, what it does is it builds trust by making you seem more empathetic. It makes you seem more like you care about animals in general. And while we all know that you do care about those things, perception is key. Make sure your clients know about it. Pump up your team for all the good things that they're doing, the charities they're involved in. All of these things set you apart, make you unique, and help clients trust and bond to your practice. All of your services should be listed. So this is where SEO can really be helpful in grabbing information from a blog post, but also your services page. So people are Googling more obscure items instead of vet near me. Maybe they're Googling, why does my dog's breath smell bad? That will lead them to your page if you have the appropriate keywords in your services page and on your blog posts. And that's a mixture of the magic of SEO and capturing clients with their needs as they're Googling them. It's also key to respond to all reviews, good and bad. Studies show that clients or potential clients are more likely to ignore or discount an appropriately addressed poor review than they are if the review is not addressed. So if you're getting those poor reviews, the power is in your hands. All you have to do is reply to them. It can be as simple as thank you for the feedback. We'll take it into consideration. It doesn't need to be, you're not on trial. You don't need to have a court case laid out on the Google reviews page, but a simple response is really important to show that you care about the feedback from your customers, valid or not, and that you're going to do something about it. Using warm and empathetic language can draw people to you. So resist being overly professionalized. Make sure that it speaks that your online content speaks in the way you would, And again, display your certificates and specialties, talk about the charity work you do, talk about your team's interests and community outreach and things like that. Those are so important to this largest group of pet parent owners, the millennials and Gen Z. And that could be the difference between your clinic getting picked and another practice being chosen.
So converting visitors to clients, so offering 27 online booking is critical. And as Mary was mentioning earlier, we do live in a day and age where we have these expectations to be able to book online any service, and veterinary care is no different. So things to consider if you are offering this or you're thinking about offering online booking is making it accessible. Can I book an appointment via your website, your Google business account, vaccine reminders, or social media? I should be able to find you with ease and seamlessly book, making it effortless. Also, does it send instant booking confirmations? Can I reschedule and cancel it online? Because that is going to be highly convenient for your pet owners. One thing as well that I would say, if you do set this up, is try to mirror exactly what you're doing within clinic, within reason. We want to be able to offer appointments to new clients, to existing clients, with vets, whether that's routine, sick, or injured. Equally, your nurses, you're leveraging them, getting them booked in for nail clips, injections. But one other area that sometimes is overlooked is, as Mary mentioned, do you have a unique offering, perhaps a specialist that works within the clinic that is seeing orthopedics and can take on referrals? Those are workflows that we can mirror online as well. So things to think about. And other essential items, as you can see, mobile friendly website, absolutely. Call to action buttons. I need to get to where I need to go within 3 clicks. So as a pet owner, if I'm looking to book an appointment, can I get there in 3 clicks or less? And does it load within a short amount of time? Can I find your contact details, especially if I'm dealing with an emergency, quickly and efficiently? Pricing is going to be important, of course, particularly in the UK, and with the upcoming CMA results that are just around the corner, I imagine this is going to be quite popular. And as mentioned a moment ago, boosting your rankings in Google and making the effort there to really start optimizing your SEO so that you're discoverable.
Absolutely. So, if you take nothing else away from this report, take these three things away. We already know that spending is down. We know that expectations are higher, and that puts you in a kind of horrible position where you have to do more with sometimes less. But it's no longer optional to deliver these seamless experiences. It's table stakes, and you're not going to grow hand over fist if you aren't doing these essential things. So we know that digital demands are rising, right? Pet parents are expecting convenience. They want tech-enabled options. They want to be able to book anytime, anywhere, and connect with your practice on their own terms. 1 in 3 pet parents are considering switching vets. That's 30% of your customer base. So we want to make sure that we're closing any gaps we can with dissatisfaction with your services. So that way you're reducing the risk of losing those folks. And ultimately, trust and technology is a winning combination. So building trust through online interactions and then building trust through in-person interactions that mirror those online interactions is key. And you must leverage technology to do it simply because you do not have enough time to do it all yourself. Modern practices that embrace digital solutions thrive with pet owners. Thank you all so much for joining us. Vicki, thanks for always being a great webinar teammate with me. I appreciate your perspective as always.
Thanks to everyone as well. I don't know if there's any questions that anyone has, that feel free to pop them in the chat if you want. And as you can see, you can download the report or book a demo if interested.
Yeah, we'll leave this up for a few minutes so that everybody who's in here has an opportunity to download the report and check it out. There are tons of other statistics in there. Obviously, we pulled out some key ones, but there's a lot to digest. So I'd highly recommend downloading it.